Lee, thanks for being with us. Why have you decided to run for National Chief of the Assembly of First Nations?
Well, thank you for the call, first of all. Why I decided to run for AFN? It was actually something that came to me back in October. It was just a voice. I'm in my daily meditations, and his voice came on and says, "You need to put your name forward." And it took me a lot of weeks to sit with that. And finally, I called up my daughters and their husbands, and I sat down and says, "Tell me the experiences of when I was the sitting chief for Tsuut'ina. What was it like for you?" And so they were honest, and they told me everything about what it was like. Most importantly, they says, the one thing that you kind of forgot is your grandsons. They know you as their Issa or grandfather, but they don't really know you. And in the past month since you've been away from politics, they've gotten to know you. And that was their most important thing. And they said, after this, from this point down, you got to do what you have to do. I over the months, I talked with lots of people, and it was just reaffirmed that, you know, there's a real chance here to really mix things up that spoke to the principles that I hold dear to me, with transparency, with integrity, with moving forward with a native conscience re-strengthening, a term coined by my uncles long past. And I understood what he was talking about at that time. That was in the days of the American Indian movement. And he says, we need to re-strengthen ourselves. It has to be a consciousness that we're re-strengthening. What does that look like? Well, it could be anything. It could be a return to cultural ways, a return to traditional ways, but more a return to who we are as people of the land. And I thought about that long and hard. What did he really mean by that? And I began to think, he passed away before the 82 Constitution came along. And I thought about all the things that we've done, that we've said no to as First Nations. It was the Meech Lake Accord, it was the Quebecois vote for separation, it was Donald Marshall, it was the Mohawks in the golf course, it was Wolverine, Sepwecum on the Sundance, it was the Nisga'a Agreement. We all said no to things being the way they were. We want to create a new consciousness. So in a roundabout way, that's sort of why I'm running for national chief, is because we need to kind of mix things up a little bit more.
Lee, what do you see as some of the priorities for the next national chief?
I think that AFN needs to have a little bit of a self-health check, because there's been, across Canada, there's been many tribal associations and treaty areas, and people are just not prepared to say AFN is helping us at all. So there's been separation. I think that there's a need to create a sense of unity, and it doesn't mean we have to agree on everything, but we have to have each other's backs. I was fortunate enough to sit on the National Committee, Joint Advisory Committee for Fiscal Relations. National Chief Perry Belgar put me on that because I believe he had confidence that I would keep from where we are treaties at the forefront, and I did. The agenda of the Canadian government is not to really honor treaties, no matter how you want to talk about it. They're quite comfortable in keeping everything under the Indian Act because it's embedded in the Canadian Constitution. So as much as we want to get rid of the Indian Act and we want to change things, honor treaties, past governments, this government, and probably future governments won't do that until we have a real dialogue with amendments to our Constitution, where we are defining, the people of the land are defining how the rest of Canada lives on our land.
Lee, we've only got about a minute left here, but you've written that First Nations have been in a perpetual state of dependence, reduced status, and the social and psychological ills those create. How would you address those issues as national chief?
First of all, you know what? We need to have a balance. And in leadership, traditional leadership, it was always, you listen to the voice of women leaders. In this case, we have 156 women chiefs, I believe, you know, that are there. Why wouldn't we use them as a resource? but just women leadership in general, as we meet these things going forward. I think that would be one of the things we need to do, and I would encourage that, and also transparency. Got to be really transparent about everything. I've never hid anything, so I'm quite prepared to say this is what we need to do. This is the direction that I believe I can help facilitate AFN to get back to something that was rooted in our traditional and principal roots.
Lee, we'll have to leave it there, but appreciate you taking some time for us here, and good luck.
Thank you very much, Dennis.